Folks, good morning and welcome to Steve the Drummer at YouTube.com, where we're bringing yesterday's music into tomorrow. And today I wanted to make an equipment video on a recent purchase that I've made. I just recently purchased an F-Note 5 drum set, electronic drum set. And so I wanted to talk about that today. And actually, this may lead into multiple future videos. Today, my intention is to give a first impressions, kind of an unboxing type of thing, and then I'll probably do some deeper dives here in the future. But nonetheless, F-Note 5 drum set, 4-piece kit, white sparkle. One of the reasons that I wanted to, they've got a white sparkle, and I think they've got a charcoal gray finisher, the two options that they're offering at this point. I wanted to go with the white sparkle because I also play an ATV kit, which is black, and so I wanted there to be a nice contrast between my ATV kit and my F-Note kit in terms of one being black and the other one, or the other one being white sparkle. So nonetheless, the F-Note kit, F-Note 5 drum set, it's got a 16-inch kick drum, a 10-inch rack tom, 12-inch floor tom, 12-inch snare drum. Comes with 16 and 18-inch cymbals, 16-inch crash, 18-inch crash ride, 14-inch hi-hats, and an 8-inch splash cymbal. So let's get into it. So looking at the drums themselves, they're 6-ply birch shells with a wrap finish, and as I said, it's a white sparkle wrap finish. The drum set itself looks really nice. It's got some nice badges on it. All the hardware on the drums looks pretty solid and well made. The toms and the snare drum are utilizing the 3-trigger system that ATV developed a few years ago, and then additionally Roland has continued that in their VAD line, and their larger size shells. They're using the same 3-trigger design, and that seems to be the popular methodology these days for getting around any issues with hot spotting. In addition, the snare drum has the 3 triggers just like the toms, but it also has a side mount trigger for rim clicks to give you a kind of a clear definition between when you're hitting a rim shot or when you're hitting a rim click, and so that technology also, once again, very identical to what ATV did several years ago. The 16-inch kick drum, actually this was probably one of my biggest reservations about buying this drum set. I've got an ATV drum set that has an 18-inch bass drum, and I've also got a Roland drum set that has an 18-inch bass drum. And in all fairness and all sincerity and honesty, I think a 22-inch kick drum is too big for me, but I think I'm a relatively vertically challenged person. I'm only 5'6" tall. But a 20 is about the sweet spot where it's about perfect. And so I've been playing 18-inch kick drums for the last several years, and my thought process moving forward was that I was probably going to trend back towards towards a 20-inch kick drum when I made my next electronic drum purchase. And I'm talking purely aesthetics here. But like I say, this particular kit has a 16-inch kick drum, and that was a concern of mine and a hesitation of mine when it came down to pulling the trigger and actually buying the drum set. And I can say honestly that was kind of a little bit unfounded. I mean, I do think that a 20-inch kick drum maybe aesthetically looks a little better, but the 16-inch kick drum on this particular drum set's very solid, very well made. It has a riser on it. It plays very well. Having now unboxed the drum set and played that kick drum a little bit, I have no qualms about it. One other thing that is clearly evident in the photos of the drum set, but it didn't really dawn on me until I bought the drum set and actually set it up and started getting my hands on it, but I actually like this, and that is the fact that the rack tom actually mounts to the bass drum as opposed to mounting off of a cymbal stand. Now this is a small thing, but it is, in my mind, my purpose for wanting this drum set is to be able to take this kit out and to gig with it. And right now I play probably, depending on what's going on with COVID, I probably only play about 10 or 12 gigs a year, but nonetheless, I want this to be my compact, portable, traveling drum set for those gigs. And I say all that to say that when you have a rack tom that mounts to the bass drum as opposed to mounts to a cymbal stand, it actually kind of lightens the load a little bit on the hardware as far as what goes in the hardware bag, and also, like I say, that it's clearly evident in the pictures, but it just didn't click with me. It just didn't dawn on me until I actually set it up and started put my hands on it and started messing with it. That the fact that the rack tom actually mounts to the bass drum, and for that matter, so does the splash cymbal as well. That is going to save some weight and make this kit even more portable and even more transportable when I tear it down and set it up and take it to different places to play. So all that being said, diving into the cymbals a little bit, we've got a 16-inch crash and an 18-inch ride, and much like the ATV cymbals previous to this, you have 360-degree triggering. You can strike the cymbal anywhere around the playing surface, and it's going to trigger. You don't have just one spot on the cymbal that is kind of like a dedicated strike zone, kind of more the way Roland does things, but you've got 360-degree playing surface for your cymbals. They choke. They're very responsive. They choke nice and easy. They sound great. They trigger very smoothly. And then, of course, the hi-hats, also very ATV-ish. They're using the optical sensor as opposed to a moving piston to detect the open and close. And one thing that I will say is different on my ATV cymbals, I've got 2 1/4-inch cables. One, but kind of similar to a Roland type of setup. One that is basically the hi-hat trigger, and the other that's basically the open-close trigger. And those two things work in conjunction with one another. And then additionally, on the ATV cymbal, you had an AC power adapter. You had to plug in the cymbals independently of the module in order to get the light sensor to work correctly. And so F-Note, utilizing a very, very similar type of technology, in that they're using the light sensor. However, you don't have to plug those hi-hats in independently. There is no AC power adapter for the hi-hats, and instead of 2 1/4-inch cables, you have one 5-pin cable, which is a proprietary cable that sends the information to the module. And I've got to say, honestly, I think the hi-hats are one of the highlights of the kit. They trigger. They're very, very, very responsive, very, very smooth. And I think one of the initial reservations I've seen online with people about this particular kit is they look at that and they say, well, that's a proprietary thing, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But I mean, quite frankly, when you look at the Roland equipment now with all their digital stuff, with the digital snare drum and the digital ride cymbal and now the digital hi-hats, I mean, quite frankly, that's a proprietary connection as well. And so they've essentially got 2 modules, the TD27 and the TD50, that work with that one connector. And so I say all that to say I think that feedback may be a little bit unfounded, and that another major manufacturer is doing exactly the same thing and using a proprietary connection. So I say all that to say I'm actually very happy with the hi-hats. I think that they trigger very responsively. And then the last thing is they throw in a little 8-inch splash. And that, as I was saying with the tom mount, it mounts directly to the bass drum, and it's nice and compact. It gives you another sound source to throw into your mix, but it doesn't really take up a lot of space, and it's not going to take up a lot of weight in your hardware. One last thing I want to say about the cymbals, and I've seen this criticism in another review video talking about the F-Note drums, and the person in the video basically stated that when they tested the F-Note drum set, that their cymbal came unplugged. I think it was I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that it was probably the 16-inch crash cymbal, but it came unplugged once or twice, and that I think they were trying the product out at NAMM, and they saw others having a similar challenge. And so I wanted to kind of address that a little bit. And once again, I'm just in the very beginning stages of just barely even beginning to use this drum set. The one thing that I do see when I put everything together, when I put all the connections together, it seems like everything snaps into place really well. However, I will say that I had my 16-inch crash came unplugged while I was playing, and the issue I don't think is the connection between the quarter-inch cable going into the quarter-inch jack. I think the issue is these cymbals spin. You know, the Roland cymbals, you only have one little strike zone to hit the cymbal, and so there's that little inverted V-shape device that's like an anti-rotation device that goes underneath a Roland cymbal. The ATV cymbals and the F-note cymbals now are playable on 360 degrees, and so there is no anti-rotational device underneath, and so when you play the cymbals spin. And if the cymbals spin too far, if they move too far, then eventually it's going to put tension on that cable and cause it to come loose. Now, when I say that, I set up the drums. I got home on Tuesday, and I set up the drums on Tuesday, and I played them for a little while, and then I spent more time playing them on Wednesday, and then I played them a little bit on Thursday morning before I had to leave and go to work. So all together, I've probably sat behind this kit for a grand total of roughly, let's call it 2 to 3 hours of actual playing time behind the drum set. And during the course of this time, the 16-inch crash turned enough that it was able to actually pull that cable out probably somewhere around the 2-hour mark. So in my mind, the solution is when you play the drums and you play a song and you get to the end of the song, is just to reach up and recenter the logos and make sure that you're not twisting and twisting and twisting until the point that you actually pull a cable out. So that's my thoughts on that. Nonetheless, next up, I want to talk about the module, because this also was a something that piqued my curiosity when I was looking at making this purchase. So this is probably one of the most important parts of the video, and actually one of the most compelling parts of the drum set when it came down to me making the decision to purchase this particular drum set. And so, you know, I look at you know, Roland drum sets, I look at Alesis drum sets, I look at ATV drum sets, and now F-Note, and there are many other manufacturers as well. But looking at a direct comparison of those particular manufacturers and their product lines, I feel like you know, I've been using a TD50 module now for the last 3-ish years, and I used a TD30 for a year or two prior to that. So I've been using that, basically that big clunky box now for the last 4 or 5 years. And so one of the things that really super attracted me to giving this drum set a shot was the fact that the module, it just looks like a small tablet, like an iPad mini or a Kindle or something along those lines. It is a nice and small and compact module. It has a touchscreen on it. Now, the touchscreen, I think, is a good idea and it's a good concept. However, and this has been talked about in other videos, it is not the most super responsive screen. So I like the fact that this drum set has a touchscreen. However, the screen is not as responsive as the touchscreen on your smartphone. The nice, light, small, compact module actually mounts to your hi-hat stand, and this is a big selling feature to me. It's a small thing, but to me it's very important, because when I play my ATV drum set with a Roland TD50 module, I have to carry an additional double brace stand that my module mounts to, and so to have the ability to mount this this module directly to the hi-hat stand just really adds to the compact, lightweight, easy to transport, easy to set up and tear down, easy to play image of this drum set that I have in my mind. You know, the most important part of any module is the sounds. And you know, at the end of the day, we want our drums to look a certain way, but that's not going to do us any good if it doesn't sound good. And so I say all that to say, honestly, my initial reaction to the sounds in this module, I'm very happy with it, with the sounds. I feel like the quality of the sampling, the quality of the samples that are being used in this module when it comes to the drums, when it comes to the cymbals, when it comes to all that stuff is very good. Now, the one thing that I will say at this point is I've been using Roland for a really, really long time, and some people love Roland and some people hate Roland in terms of the way their sounds are. But one thing I think a lot of people can agree on is that Roland samples are not what you would call dry. Roland samples have a lot of effects and a lot of processing. There's a lot of compression. The consistent feedback with Roland as well, it cuts through the music really well. And so I say all that to say, I'm initially very happy with the samples in this F-note module. However, I'm curious how it's going to blend with music. I've Bluetoothed my phone to the module and played along with some music, and I can tell right now that it just sounds, when I play the drums individually, the drums sound great. When I play them with music, at this point, it's not exactly what my brain is expecting to hear. And so I say that to say that I think I've got a little bit of a growing process to learn exactly how to use this module and how to blend it with the music that I'm playing, and I'm really excited and looking forward to learning and seeing how all this develops. A couple of other minor housekeeping things on the module. One thing in particular is that it utilizes cable snakes, and so there have been modules in the past that have utilized cable snakes, and then there have been modules that just utilized individual cables. And in and of itself, I mean, it's a minor difference. Honestly, there's pros and cons to both things. Most of the naysayers of cable snakes, their criticism or their feedback is that if you have one bad cable, if you have one cable go bad in a cable snake, you've got to replace the whole thing. Whereas if you have individual cables, if you have one bad cable, then you just have to replace that one cable. And that does make sense. That's a very legitimate argument. However, I will say that the other side of it is using cable snakes versus using individual cables does kind of help out a little bit with your cable management, with not having this look of a whole bunch of wires just going in different directions. I think one of the challenges when you use individual cables is that you cable management is very arduous. And so the last thing that I'll say about the cable snake and about the cabling system for this module, and I actually initially thought that it wasn't there, and I had to really go back and look. But one of the things that makes setup and tear down quick and easy and all is that you want your cables labeled, and so that you can exactly this cable this cable goes to tom 2, this cable goes to the ride, this cable goes to the snare. This makes cable management, makes setup and tear down much more easy. And I actually, when I first grabbed all this, I didn't even see the labels on there because they're so faint. It's a black cable with white lettering, and the labels are there, but they're really, really faint. And so I would, if I had a feedback for something that could be improved in the future, I wish they would make that a little bit more predominant, a little bit easier to see. And I can see, especially too, setting up in a dimly lit area like some place that you would play music, that's going to be a challenge to see those labels and to see exactly what you got. And then the last thing that I want to say too about the module, and like I say, overall, I'm really happy with this kit, and I'm really excited about learning how to use this kit. The one thing I'll say is that the load time of the kits is a little bit lengthy. Actually, it's probably in the realm of at least a second or so. And I say that to say, on my Roland TD50 module, I've had songs that I used 2 different kits in the same song, and there wasn't like a stop. I mean, literally, I played this measure using this kit and either reached over and hit a switch or hit a foot switch, and on the one of the very next measure, the next kit was loaded and in real time, and the module didn't hiccup at all. That would not be possible with this module. When you select a kit, if you are sitting there with a drumstick in one hand and your finger on the button, and you select a kit and you're hitting, there's going to be a solid second or more that no sound, nothing is going to trigger. while that kit is actually loading. Now, is this a big deal? Honestly, no. I think that this is, you know, me using multiple kits in one song is a really rare thing, and so that's really the only time that would be prohibitive. You know, I think that the practical application of using this module, I'm probably going to be less apt when I'm playing out to change kits. I'm probably going to use 3 or 4 kits in a set versus using 10 or 15 different kits in a set. I probably will switch less often, but nonetheless, we'll see how that plays out.